I'm going to say a little bit personally too. My mother, at a certain point at 13, she had to raise me by myself, everything too. And I just a huge respect from what my mother went through to try to at least keep a semblance of an existence, even though I didn't have a good one. And she tried. I did see my mom try. You're a mother, and you're running a business at the same time. How does that work for the mothers out there that are?
I definitely have a new respect
Yeah.
for all the moms out there. My
Yeah.
daughter's 3 now.
Uh-huh.
But I probably started to hit like the height of my career and
Hmm.
like as I was expecting.
Yeah.
And I was scared.
Uh-huh.
It's like, how am I gonna do this new mom thing
Yeah.
and this new business thing
Yeah.
at the same time? And I
Yeah.
know being a mom should come first,
Hmm.
but at the same time I also need to support my daughter. So,
Yeah.
which
Yeah.
how do you choose?
Yeah.
But the one thing I've learned is I like to incorporate my daughter in my business a lot.
Uh-huh.
She comes to photo shoots with me.
Yeah.
She gets to come to work with me
Hmm.
from time to time,
Hmm.
and I just make her a part of it. And I think that really helps.
Hmm. Hmm.
It helps me get through my days as
Yeah.
well. But I definitely have like huge respect for all the mommy bosses.
Yeah.
And then, my mom, she was also in the beauty industry 30 plus years now before I was
Wow.
even born. And my brother and I, we were shop babies. My mom
Hmm.
did hair.
Okay.
And we lived in New York City at the time.
Hmm.
And I just remember, we had plenty of extended aunties, and, we would be at the shop with my mom, and it started to get late.
Yeah.
We'll have, someone come pick us up.
Hmm.
We would eat, have our baths, get ready for bed.
Hmm.
It's all about the support system. And
Hmm.
I'm just really grateful that my mom has been able to be that for me while I go through this part of my
Wow.
journey.
This year has been nothing short of unique. Between exploring the virtual landscape and navigating new needs, business has done the extraordinary. Though some still struggle, we have expanded our reach, pivoted our resources to serve the public, and developed innovations to support this newly modified territory of business culture. Yet so much ahead still awaits us, from this year's unsolved challenges to future curveballs no one sees coming. Will we unite and lift one another up, or is hope for that already gone? In GritCON, we have decided to band together more fiercely than ever. There is hope, and we will not be put down. Join us as we overcome our situations and step into the light.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to another episode of GritCON Expandcast, Season 2, Episode 4. I have a great guest with me today, Arielle Dickerson. But before we introduce her, I'd like to say to everybody, thank you for joining us on the many platforms, whether it be audio or video. And we're excited to bring this to you from Midlothian, Virginia. GritCON Expandcast is your podcast for entrepreneurs who want to grow their business, expand, and learn the real how-tos from experienced business owners on how to succeed and move into the future. All right, so today I'm a pleasure to introduce Arielle Dickerson from Luxe Beauty Studio and Lashes. Is that right?
Luxe Lashes
Luxe-
Beauty Studio.
Luxe Lashes Beauty Studio. All right. Sorry for that.
It's okay.
It's a mouthful for myself too. being a gentleman, not in a beauty industry
That's
such,
okay.
it's something for myself too. But I appreciate being you have a local business in the area here, not too far from the studio as well.
Correct.
Um, and you've been in business for about 6 years.
Yes, we just celebrated 6 years in October.
6 years in October. Wonderful. Oh my gosh. So I really appreciate how our audience is an audience of people who maybe are getting the first 2 years, or maybe they're just about to get their business started. So I'm excited to see, your experiences, hear about your experiences and the ways that your experiences could help somebody, one person or a whole bunch of people, I hope, around the globe to get their business off the ground. So tell us a little bit about your entrepreneurial journey and about your business.
Yeah, so just from the very beginning, I'll have to tell you that this was not even my path. I was a forensic biology major.
Okay.
And I just kind of decided 2 years in, I was bored. I worked in the beauty industry since my senior year of high school. I was actually a makeup artist / product consultant at Sephora, and I thought I had my dream job already, at 17, 18. And then when it was time to go to college, I was like, man, I've got to work part-time now. And then I just found myself looking forward to the weekends. On the weekends, I would do freelance makeup artistry, weddings, or work in the store. And then I just found myself only looking forward to the weekends. So I had a 2-year scholarship to VCU. And around that time, my scholarship was pretty much up. So I had to decide if I was going to continue to try to pay for school, which I wasn't really passionate about at the time, or if I wanted to pursue my beauty career.
Wonderful, wonderful. That's awesome. I think a lot of entrepreneurs these days are starting out as, say, like gigpreneurs, I guess you could say, or like part-time hobbypreneurs, I guess you could say. And I remember my path as I was in the Navy full-time, and then I just picked up photography, and I would shoot like every weekend. I'd try to line up a wedding or something like that. And I understand maybe we have that in common. Like, I guess you got a lot of wedding clients and everything.
Yes, absolutely. That's actually how I started. I was an airbrush makeup artist.
Okay.
And yeah, I was, like how they say, no days off. It was no weekends off.
Yeah.
If I wasn't at school during the week, my weekends would consist of weddings, sometimes multiple in one day, and just I wanted to do as much as I could.
Wow,
Yeah.
absolutely, that's incredible. And I think we had a discussion too before this, podcast. I think you said you were going to school. Can we explore that a little bit further? I know you were studying forensic biology, and like, were you already finishing and wrapping up, and what made the actual pivot? Like, what was the actual tipping point for that?
So I was actually getting into the bulk of it. I was I'd finished up my first semester of junior year. And at that point, I was like, I'm just way too stressed out not to even be excited or, know what I want to do. And then I also looked at the fact that, on the weekends, I'd make, pretty much my paycheck that I would have made as starting out as a lab technician. I just sat there one day and was like, oh, what kind of job could I get? And I was like, no benefits. All right, I don't know if this is for me, because at the same time, I was also trying to survive as a college student. So just the fact that there was no passion there, and I felt my happiest doing my makeup artistry is why I finally just made the decision. And were my parents a little upset? Yes. But I think they might be a little proud of me now.
Yeah, absolutely. I could imagine any parent would be pretty darn proud now, and we'll explore that further. That's one of the questions I have in this interview. When somebody's in school, so I like to hope I have a younger audience that's listening, and you're thinking like, and we hear this a lot too from the like the audience and other entrepreneurs, like when somebody will stand up at a Gary V conference and said, hey, I'm in school, I do not want to be a scientist, Gary, I want to own my own apparel shop or something like that, and you are living. I bet you there's some young viewers or listeners that are like, oh my God, this is terrific. This is a lady who stepped out, and did what she wanted to do. And don't get me wrong, no matter what age you're at, whether you're like my age in my 40s or even older or even younger, at any point, somebody finds a turning point with their career or where they're going in life, and they want to, man, I just really want to do what I want to do. And there's a certain amount of, discipline and wisdom too. It's not just like, oh, I'm just going to jump out and watch out with no parachute to a point. I want to be careful with our audience, right? That I think I'll explore a little bit further than the questions I had lined up is, did you have like did you sit down and write out an incredible business plan? I'm sure an audience would ask this question. Was it a strategic business plan, or was it like your business plan was one sentence? Or, because I've seen all the ranges, and people succeeded with, my business plan is one sentence and my business plan is 18 pages.
Yeah, so I will tell you, I did not start with a business plan because I had no business in mind, to be honest.
Okay.
I was just kind of going with my heart, going with the flow. Like, I knew that I wanted to do makeup and be in the beauty industry, especially during the weekends, and I was going to explore that. But I never knew that it would turn into a business per se. And then I know that you have to do what you have to do until you can do what you want to do. So I want to be clear that I did not decide that I was just gonna jump out the window one day, but I knew I did explore my options. It was very difficult for me to get personal loans for school. I wasn't able to get a co-signer, things like that. So what I will say is, if you have your parents paying for your education or that's being funded somehow, you better finish school. Like, absolutely. I didn't have that. So it's different. And I, to this day, I've had girls come work for me as receptionists. They're like, man, I really want to learn how to do lashes. And they're college students. And I'm like, girl, I'd love to teach you, but you're going to finish school first. Because I know their background and I know their situation. And I know that their parents are, supporting them all the way and they're setting them up for success.
Yes, so absolutely.
Our paths are a little bit different. So I try to... I don't want everybody to think that you just jump without the parachute and get it going. Yeah,
absolutely. This is interesting. I'm thinking about another entrepreneur I spoke to another day. He has about 7 businesses. He's definitely at a point where I want to be at in my business. And he's younger too. He's younger than myself. And he actually had a business, had it going, was scaling it, and then he went back to school. Just because he wanted to build the strategic knowledge and business education upon what he claims he knows he didn't have at the time. So it's interesting. We're not trying to say this the whole GritCON expandcast. Hey, you might hear this like was an internet meme kind of talk about like school is garbage, raw. You know what I'm saying? No, it's like school can be useful. You know what I'm saying? Just because you hear of people that, we jumped out, or that whole, Zuckerberg, whatever it is, college dropout and I'll be successful type of thing. That's a little bit of a hero glorification kind of thing that we have in our culture. But there's different ways it can be sliced.
Absolutely.
Yeah, absolutely. Let's see. So what do you feel was an I say it factor, like, what made you shine in the marketplace?
Oh, that's a good one. I just think that I was really passionate from the very beginning. Even my 18th birthday, I got my job at Sephora. I was 17. I would go in this particular Sephora, and I'm like, man, how old do you have to be to work here? I would go talk to the manager, and she's like, 18. And I'm like, oh, okay. And she's like, well, when's your birthday? And I'm like, it's in February. She's like, well, you come back in February. Now, anyone would say that to be nice. But I actually showed back up on my 18th birthday. And I gave her my resume. And then she actually called me in for an interview. And then it was like, when I got my little black uniform, I was like, I've arrived. I was really, really passionate from the very beginning. And I would have just with my clients coming into the store, and I was just, I wanted to shop for them. I wanted to, look what we have today. Like, we have these new lipsticks, I was just very, very passionate from the beginning. And I think, in the world of social media now, it's a little bit different. I don't think everyone's passion is really there. I think people just, look and see what others have or what they've been able to achieve. And, a lot of times money is the motivation. They're like, oh, I wish I could make that much money and not have to work that hard and do makeup too.
Yeah.
But when in all actuality, there's a lot of passion behind those people and that's something that's not really conveyed through social media.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Actually, it's interesting. I was just speaking to a singer yesterday. She said that she knew a hairstylist that actually hated hairstyling.
That's
she just like,
thing.
and it's weird because it's like she only cared about, I got to pay the bills and everything too. But it was interesting because she built a business and had her own salon, but people would gravitate to her, the people that work for her, because they were actually passionate about what they did, you know, and everything. And she just thought it was drudgery, so there's a little bit of thing. Yes, you can, there is no like one path to success. It's always going to be this crazy little journey, almost like this adventure. But the other side of it is like, it's more rewarding when you still stay within your passions.
Yes.
Like I am a passionate storyteller with photos and video. So that's why I'm always going to do this. I will always light up. I will always light up my energy and everything. And you're lighting up when I say when I talk about beauty and your first experience at Sephora and lashes and everything. By the way, I don't know, the cameras don't do it justice. This is the most beautiful lashes. I'm a photographer. I've taken fashion photography before of many performers even. Performers have a lot of great lashes, when they do performances. And I'm sitting like right next to her and I see her lashes are beautiful. Like she lives her product. So,
thank you.
Absolutely. Let's see. And what would you say to people who have, and this is a big one. This happens. I'm sure you get this question a lot. So I get this question many, many times. What happens when your family or your close friends are not supportive of your new startup enterprise?
Okay. So one thing that I've learned is that your family and your closest friends are not going to be your biggest supporters. With the exception of my mom. My mom has, even though she was, a little annoyed about school, every time I have a new service, every time I need to practice something, anytime I need a model, she's number one. Like, my mom is there. But with the exception of her, your friends and family, I mean, they kind of jump on at the end, like maybe year 6 now for me. But but that's okay. It's like the complete strangers or the people that I've just, met along my journey, those become your supporters. And it's almost like I have like 1 million client friends at this point. You start loving them like you do with your friends and family, but looking for them to be your number one supporters, I don't recommend it.
It's absolutely.
You'll end up a little disappointed.
Yes, the emotional drain that comes with that.
Absolutely.
It's rough because they care about you and they want to see you succeed, and they don't want you, and especially a parental thing, they don't want to see you get hurt.
Yes.
And they're coming from a good place, everybody, but also at the same time, I'm realizing too, even on my, I don't know if I'm year 12 or year 8 of my business, but where the new people end up being your biggest cheerleaders.
Yes.
It's weird. It's because they perceive you a different way. Like maybe your best friends remember you from like high school, and when you were growing and you didn't wear, your clothes weren't fitting right and everything. But the new people, they just see you as like, oh my God, look at that cool person, and your close family is like, what are you talking about? This is the person that
That's so true.
So, yeah, that's
true.
Absolutely. Let's see, and then what would you say is and this comes to the part, and I know I'm going to say a little bit personally too. My mother, at a certain point at 13, she had to raise me by myself, everything too, and I just a huge respect from what my mother went through to try to at least keep a semblance of an existence, even though I didn't have a good one, and she tried. I did see my mom try. You're a mother, and you're running a business at the same time. How does that work for the mothers out there that are
I definitely have a new respect for all the moms out there. My daughter's 3 now. But I probably started to hit like the height of my career, like as I was expecting. And I was scared. It's like how am I going to do this new mom thing
Yeah.
and this new business thing
Yeah.
at the same time? And I
Yeah.
know being a mom should come first, but at the same time, I also need to support my daughter. So,
Yeah.
you know, which,
Yeah.
how do you choose?
Yeah.
But the one thing I've learned is I like to incorporate my daughter in my business a lot. She comes to photo shoots with me.
Yeah.
She gets to come to work with me from time to time, and I just make her a part of it. And I think that really helps. It helps me get through my days as well. But I definitely have like huge respect for all the mommy bosses. And then, you know, my mom, she was also in the beauty industry 30 plus years now before I was even born. And my brother and I, we were shop babies. My mom did hair.
Okay.
And we lived in New York City at the time. And I just remember, you know, we had plenty of extended aunties, and, you know, we would be at the shop with my mom, and it started to get late. We'll have, you know, someone come pick us up. We would eat, have our baths, get ready for bed. You know, it's all about the support system. And I'm just really grateful that my mom has been able to be that for me while I go through this part of my journey.
Wow, so it sounds like a great legacy that you have. That my wife grew up with a father that did hair design for like 40 years plus, and so she was, I guess you could say, a shop baby, you know, and helping out dad with the combs and stuff and everything too. But I think that's a great thing too. I don't have children myself, but I think it's great that, you know, your child can be in around that kind of environment and see mom, you know, grow through, you know, process and everything too. So that's beautiful.
Yeah, they respect it. They, you know, I was nervous at first, but my daughter's like, "Oh, mom, you're going to work? Okay, I'll see you later." Like, she's very just, she's okay with it, and she knows when we do get our time together that it's, you know, it's worth it.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. I know you touched on a lot of the beautiful side of everything too. I'm just going to go to just like in business in general. What was a challenge or test that you had to overcome that you thought maybe going into it you weren't going to overcome this challenge in business?
Yeah, my clients and I, we actually laugh about it to this day. So back in 2015, we had this thing we like to call Gluegate at the salon.
Okay.
We had an adhesive supplier at the time for our semi-permanent lash extensions. Yeah. And we had gotten a shipment, and then all of a sudden, probably every client that week had come in to get their lashes done, gave us a call maybe a day or two later, and they're like, "I don't know what's happening. All my lashes are falling out." And we were like, okay, no worries. We'll get you back on the books. You can come back in complimentary. Not sure what happened, but we'll definitely fix it for you. So then they came back in, and they got their lashes done. And then it happened again.
Oh, no.
So it's like, okay, no worries, beauty. We got you. Just come back in, and we'll fix them for you. And then we, you know, that second time that they came in and we fixed them for them, we changed out the glue. We just threw away all the bottles that were in rotation. We opened new bottles, so everything should have been fine. And then it wasn't.
Oh, wow.
And then it happened again, and then we realized that there was something with the manufacturer and the adhesive, because we've been using the same product for years, so we've stored it properly. Like, what's happening right now? So it's like something in transit. I don't know. It wasn't at the right temperature, what have you. Wow. But long story short, we probably lost maybe 75% of revenue that month. And when I tell you, I did not think we were going to come back from that. Not only were we doing clients for free, I had to pay my employees, I had to pay my rent. I did not get paid. I mean, it was, I just didn't know like what was, you know, how we were going to shake this and how we were going to come back. And we definitely lost some clients along the way because of that. You know, people just didn't understand, like, this makes no sense. And we didn't understand it either, but I'm happy to say, you know, to this day, we can laugh about it with those clients who, you know, like, girl, it's no big deal. But, I didn't think we were going to come back from that. And then, obviously, the latest, the pandemic, I didn't think we were coming back from that either.
And we might explore that a little bit further. In every one of these shows, you know somebody's an experienced business owner, we said this many episodes, when they have a story like that or
Yes.
multiple stories like that. One of my guests, a car crashed into her shop. Yeah,
Wow.
and she just couldn't use her shop straight up. She just
Oh
couldn't
my
use her shop,
goodness.
for months on end, you know. When it came to another one, she got into a business venture and she lost like probably like $40,000 or something. I myself have lost $10,000 on something from a scammer,
Yeah.
There's always going to be a story, and I think that's what the value is. And speaking to my own mentors, is that that's what GritCon is about. It's weird that there's entrepreneur podcasts and they're not covering that.
Right.
That there's actual challenges. I mean, how did you even come out of that in the months afterwards? So you just kind of like hit the road hard.
I
and,
knew that I
yeah.
had to like kind of just go 10 times harder than
Yeah.
the month before.
Uh-huh.
And it was honestly really making sure that I was communicating with my clients
Yeah.
every
Yeah.
step of the way.
Yeah.
This is what happened. This
Yeah.
is what we're doing better.
Yeah.
We're no longer using this manufacturer.
Yeah.
Like just really making them feel comfortable
Yeah.
instead of like a generic, to whom it may concern. This is what
Yeah.
happened to our glue.
Yeah.
Hopefully you
Wow.
come back and see us.
Yeah.
It was really one of those things that we had to be very sensitive with.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Wow. And I realize, in customer service industry, which is, your hire, like a prime VIP
Yes.
luxury / service, very high end service, is that, and this, and I wasn't expecting to ask this question, but is that something that, like you have to take that to a level that has to be of a prime importance to what you pour into?
Absolutely. Customer service, I've learned, is it's like number one. Like when my clients walk through the door, I literally train my technicians. Like when someone walks through the door, it's, "Hey beauty, how are you today?" That's the only way we greet our clients.
Wow.
Yes.
Yeah.
Just the smallest things are
Yeah.
going to take us to the next level in comparison to the next lash salon.
Wow. Yeah. And I can imagine even the environment that you have with your shop. I haven't been there yet, but I can just imagine how beautiful it is.
Thank
And
you.
I might have seen the pictures here and there, but it's an experience, and I think that's what ladies are investing in with you.
Yes.
is the experience, and they know they're going to take care of you, and something didn't go right, you still took care of them, the ones that stick
Absolutely.
around. And then even today, when people hear, your customers might hear this podcast, you know that you're really definitely passionate about what you do. I mean, your body language just irradiates that. Right. Let's see, what would you say is one trait, or maybe one or two traits, but
Okay.
let's try to see if we can pick out one trait or one word or something that you would recommend entrepreneurs must have in order to succeed?
You've got to be resilient.
Resilient.
That's the number one.
Mm-hmm.
So many people give up, even with me training for lash extensions. I train the girls that work with me, but then also there are people who may do hair or
Yeah.
do other beauty services who want to get into the industry, and they seek training,
Yeah.
and they just give up so easy. It's
Yeah.
like, I don't like this and I'm like, you just invested how much in this training and
Yeah.
time, and
Yeah.
you're just gonna give up just like
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
And I understand it's not for everyone, but being resilient, that's like my word for what 2020 was. Like I had to push through, like
Wow.
seriously,
Yeah.
and that's the only way that you're gonna make it in this industry.
Yeah. Wow, resiliency. So, it's like the whole synonym with grit and resilience and perseverance. Resilience, and I want to explore that a little bit further, is like resilience in the sense that the weather, I'm thinking, when you think resilience, people can picture a rock or mountain in the storm or in the wind. It could get snowed on,
Yeah.
it could have rained on, every wind that would cut through everything.
Yes.
But that mountain or that rock is still there. So that's, you kind of almost have to, be that rock in the wind and the storms and everything.
I love that. That's it.
Yeah,
That is
absolutely.
it, yeah.
And it's not weak. I mean, when the rock and storm, it doesn't just melt. It stays there. It stays resilient, and it keeps on going.
At the end of the day, you're still standing.
Yeah, wonderful. Well, I mean, I'm going to jump my questions around a bit because you touched on it, and we've been dancing around this. So 2020. I mean, it's a hard one for
2020.
everybody in business. That's a difficult one. I've seen from people that are in the 8 figures drop down low. I've seen $1 million business drop down and lose half their business. I myself have been through it. So and it's also like, I'm going to even ask, because I want to know the answer to this question too. How did you even survive this like it would kind of retail apocalypse or luxury services apocalypse.
You know
Yeah.
what? To be completely honest,
Yeah.
part of it was a blur.
Yeah. Yeah.
I don't really know how a lot of it happened, how we made it, but the last thing I remember is just being March 23rd. I remember the exact day, and just being in the salon, and I received the Apple News notification, and I, obviously knew that we were going to be shut down until further notice, that we had to close by the end of business, and we're located in Stony Point Fashion Park. So I also received an automated message from Stony Point Fashion Park's headquarters letting us know that by 7 p.m. that we were going to have to close until further notice. So from then on, I was just like, okay.
Yeah.
And then a few of the girls had called out because they were getting a little bit nervous about COVID. So it was just me and my clients, last day of work. I might have stayed till about 7:30 or 8 o'clock, but I just knew that that was it, and everything that could have possibly gone through my mind did at the time, and I was just like, okay, we'll figure this out. And then from March 23rd on, I went home. That next morning, I called my publicist, and I said, hey, Caroline, I have no idea what to do, but I need money. And there's no way that I'm going to be able to close. And just a little personal sidebar, I'm also simultaneously going through a divorce. So now I'm a single mom, and I'm just like,
Wow.
Caroline, what do I do?
Yeah.
And she's like, you're going to do what you always do. You're going to push through. And I'm like, okay. And I'm feeling confident, but at the same time, I'm crying at the same time.
Yeah.
And she's like, we're just going to go back to your roots. And I'm
Yeah.
like, my roots? And she's like, yeah, you're going to travel to your clients. So she, we got together, we figured out what we were going to say, we curated our emails to our clients, and At Home Beauty by Luxe Lash's beauty studio was born.
Wow.
And that is how we got through the pandemic. So with screening, of course, you couldn't even book an appointment without going through our online screening on the At Home Beauty tab of the page. Once they completed the screening, we were able to reach out back to them and let them know what services we were eligible for and up to what radius we could travel to. And that is how we made it through the pandemic with At Home Beauty.
Wow. I talk about a pivot and a half.
Oh my gosh, yes.
Wow. So yeah, I feel like I want to tear up a little bit myself because like I was in the middle of it. I started GritCON Expandcast, and I'm pointing at a little slide. There was no like guess or nothing. I pointed at a slideshow and it says you need to figure out whichever way possible to flip your business around to serve clientele in a current environment legally. Of course, if there's a lockdown, there's a lockdown. But if you can get through certain things, like they didn't stop one-on-one meetings.
Correct.
Yeah. So, wow. And that's where I think sometimes some business owners are like, they scale so big and everything, like, wait a second, I'm going to go all the way back to what I used to do. Like you mentioned that you started on Craigslist on a phone call before this. And I started my photography on Craigslist. Like
There
seriously, I was doing like $20 photo shoots out of my house, and everything. And that is really much something is like, in a weird kind of way though, it's like traveling back in time,
Seriously.
Yeah.
Yeah, seriously.
But it's difficult, it's emotional, it's very disheartening. I'm sure, like myself, I'm going to speak for myself and nobody else, is like there was days I just looked up at the ceiling like, dang, what am I going to do? But then all of a sudden I think a resilient business owner is gonna, all right, I'm looking at the ceiling. All right, I'm going to have some tears already. All right, let me get my notebook out. Yep. Or you reached out to your mentor, your coach, or you talked to some friends or something. And I think that's great when I got to understand in the GritCON concept is a community. You had a coach, you had somebody you went to, you had somebody with experience, whichever it is, or maybe some peers or some people that you look up to. And in this environment, I've found that there are actually a lot more people at a higher level that are reaching down and helping out.
Yes.
A lot more.
Grateful for that.
Yes.
Yep.
Because we need it. And that's what I'm thinking it's starting to happen now in 2021 is this whole collective, how can we help each other? Other guests here have handed me their book of referrals and says you can name drop me all you want.
I love it.
Somebody said, hey, I wanna promote your podcast on my channel, and I had like over 2,400 views in like
Amazing.
24 hours. So I want to help, I want to help other businesses, like yourself. I want to push you out to my audience and everything too. So that's where I'm going to tell you, audience, you're going to have to look at ways to pivot and really serve your customers where they're at. It's easy to understand food delivery concept. Okay, that was easy. That was an easy thing to wrap our heads around. We all participated sooner or later. But to take your personalized service and take it to the customer. We've jumped a car in the middle of governor lockdowns and drove to a client in North Carolina. And it was like, hey, what's what we're doing? We're jumping on a car and we're going to go visit this client. And it's like, are you going to do business with us? It's like, we're going to cross our fingers. Yeah. So, because we got to save our business. Yeah. Yeah, absolutely.
And I will say that, At Home Beauty was born and then everything was perfect from there on out.
Yeah.
Then you had those clients who, didn't feel comfortable getting at home beauty services or had elderly parents that live with them. And we completely understood that as well. So then came the birth of some new at home beauty products. So like my lashes, for example. We launched an adhesive eyeliner along with a set of lashes that you could apply on your own. It takes like 2 seconds, and we kind of bought the lash tech to your door. Mask-proof lipsticks. There were just things that we tried to do to completely pivot and just, understand it's about, even if they're not coming now, then, save some room for them when it's time with the products that we have.
Absolutely. Wonderful. So you even expanded upon that. You actually led into my very next question. Okay. That's perfect.
I promise I'm not looking at it.
I know, right? It's like, I see that you diversified, because I actually looked on your Facebook and everything, your presentation, and you have actually like a makeup line that says Luxe, right? And Luxe.
Yes.
And is it... I was going to say this question is now a moot point, but that's good. That's good because I want to explore it further. Diversification of your product line or product line services. So you have now you have physical products. Now you have services. And how important is it for an entrepreneur to diversify their offering?
So prior to the pandemic, I didn't really have any physical products. The ones that I did have were aftercare products for eyelash extensions.
Okay.
But of course, if you weren't getting eyelash extensions, then you didn't have a need for that product line.
Yeah.
So it was definitely important to create an online presence.
Yeah.
So that's where the lashes came in. That's where the, mask-proof lippies, even online education. I was able to launch the Luxe Beauty Academy during that time as well, just to make sure that, we did have that online presence. And now I realize how important that is.
Wow. So, okay, you have not only the makeup line, but you have a academy, I guess, where you're teaching. Are you teaching online or in person or something?
Yes. Yeah. So I have both one-on-one sessions and online as well, which launched during the pandemic. But my online courses are for either the licensed cosmetologist or esthetician or the current esthetician or cosmetology student who is looking to specialize either in lash extensions or any lash or brow services. So I teach threading, I teach eyelash extensions, some newer services, lash lifting and tinting, and then brow lifting and tinting as well.
Wow. Okay. That's incredible. So, sometimes you wonder when you launch in this pandemic, there's a lot of people that are getting into the education. Yes. And that's how I highly recommend. I highly recommend if you are a specialist, start teaching, but find the right platform to do that. But then you even took it further because sometimes we think, oh, I'm only teaching the newbies. No, you're teaching licensed people that already know a bit about the licensure of your profession, but also expanding upon that.
Yes.
That's good. Actually, you know what? I'm going to write. Because there's always that moment. There's always that moment in every show. Every time I meet with business owners and something, it's like, hey, we're going to go ahead, tell you to rewind this a little bit, write down exactly what she said. Now, she might have been very industry specific, but what we're saying is basically look at ways that there's money on the table for how you're pivoting for personalized services. Yes. And even when you teach, figure out ways to teach at different levels. Oh my God, I love it.
That was your aha.
Yeah. And some people, they try to plan that out over a long period of time. Like, okay, it's going to take me 6 months to implement it. Sounds like you did this in like a short period of time.
Well, you know what? With that pivot. That was something that I had been sitting on. I had already had my Lash course, and I had all of these courses written out because I would teach them when you were a new hire in the studio. But the difference was that it would be either one-on-one or I would do it as a group.
Yeah.
And then I realized we're not hiring right now.
Yeah.
And there are people who want to expand on, you know, their services. And maybe when we do open back up, they have this whole new, you know, service list under their belt. So why not take what I already have and what I've already compiled and make it available?
Okay. I'm going to write this down. I'm glad this is recorded because I'm going to go back and play it myself.
Yes.
Because documentation as you go through your process, documentation as you go through your training of people and everything too. Sometimes we'll just set up a second camera, a third camera. And as we're showing somebody how to do something in Adobe Photoshop or editing, or showing somebody on the set, this is how you set up your light. This is the distances. This is everything. I don't want to be too specific now. I'm talking about my industry. But hey, guys and gals, what you want to do is document through the processes because you never know when that will be more money on the table to turn it into a training course.
Yes.
Oh my gosh! Oh, I love this. I got three golden nuggets out of this whole thing. So this is awesome. What you talk about the employees and such and your team and everything too. I'm sure that was what team building. I'm sure new entrepreneurs like, how do I build a team and everything. So what is it like to? I know this is maybe a long form question, so it's fine if we cut it down a little bit and whittle it down. What does it take to lead a team day in, day out?
Just going into being an entrepreneur, I never even thought about having a team, which is really interesting. It was never on my mind. And then as I had hired my first lash technician to work alongside me, I realized that I had to, number one, be the example. You know, you can tell someone they need to be on time or to be punctual or do lashes a certain way or, you know, come with a certain appearance. But if you don't do that, they're just, it's not going to click.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So it's like someone's walking in the door 15, 20 minutes late, and then I'm walking in the door 15 to 20 minutes late to tell them about walking in the door 15 to 20 minutes late. You know, a lot of people have the mindset or the attitude where you're the boss, you get to do what you want to do to a certain extent. But I literally like to run my business by leading by example.
Yeah. Absolutely. Sometimes I think as a follower, we have a huge military audience too here.
Okay.
And so sometimes we may take that for granted, but a lot of people are trying to understand that concept is when the senior enlisted or the officer or whichever is out there in front, you know, just shining above everybody else as an example, you're like, man, I want to be like that guy or gal that's in charge.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And it compels the motivation. It compels the motivation to show up on time. It compels the motivation to keep up. Because they're going to feel like they get left behind. And so if you're out there charging ahead as an example and in how you do business, it just creates an environment to foster excellence.
Absolutely.
And the reverse is true too. Both in the military and out of the military, when you had that officer or whichever was like, dude, I think he's going to get us killed. You know what I'm saying? It just destroys morale.
Yes.
It destroys motivation and everything. So yeah, absolutely. That's great. I mean, I see that in my own business play out too. And I know it's something I harken back I knew from when I was joining the military at 19. But at the same time, that is just true. I mean, as much as you may be frustrated with that concept and running a business, you're going to have to do that.
That's
true. You're going to have to do that. Be the first one. I put in my business, I put in way more hours than anybody else. I really do. I mean, just like nonstop, day in, day out, day in, day out. Saturday, Sunday. I'm doing like 4 deals in a row on a weekend. By the time the crew comes in on Monday morning, they're like, okay, Ron, they already know what's coming. Yeah. What happened this weekend? I was like, we got 14 things, you know?
You were still working. They were sleeping, you were working.
Yeah, absolutely. Let's see. What would you tell a new entrepreneur starting out now in January 2021? I am just starting, like right now.
Prepare yourself. Prepare yourself for the things that you didn't even expect to come up. Prepare yourself with making sure you know everything that you need to, run your business successfully. just starting with the basics, your business license, your licensing for whatever field you're in, how on time you need to pay your tax. Just make sure that you know exactly what you need to be doing. The rest is going to follow. But if your foundation sucks, you're going to have a hard time.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So be prepared.
Yeah. And I think the mental preparation, for example, I walk into deals now, I mean, just a lot now. I actually plan for worst case scenario. I actually plan for worst case scenario so that I'm not disappointed. It's like I was actually planning for this not to work out. So when you tell me this is going to work out, like, oh my God, I'm going to cry now, you know? Yes. So, but it's also that mental prep and also preparing for different scenarios. So one of the things, the exercise I did this past weekend was I went to my mentor and said, hey, I'm walking into a situation I've never been in before. Can you get my mind mentally prepped for 3 different scenarios, please? Because I know you've experienced this before and I have never. Right. And he's like, yeah. So there's 3 different scenarios. I'll give you 5. I'm like, oh, thank you. That type of thing. So yeah. And then I went to the deal on the phone, the next deal right behind that, and I was mentally prepared. So that's where I think this podcast is free. Thank you to the sponsors for making that happen, because seriously, like Arielle and myself, we actually don't have time to write a novel for you. You know what I'm saying? Like, I know you want our best-selling book out there, but it's like, seriously, we don't have time for that. So this is like the easier format to get the information from us directly. And we want to see you succeed. That's why we're here on the show, because we want to give you the information and make it work for you. Absolutely. And I'm going to wrap up with this. Where do you see Luxe Lash and Luxe Beauty and Luxe Makeup and everything that you're doing? Where do you see that going within 2021 and 22, and where you want to go?
That's funny you say that. Yeah. So we talked about, how maybe at the beginning school doesn't really seem like the best idea, but then moving forward, somewhere down the line you see that. So I kind of see myself going back to school and expanding on some services and knowledge just to take things to the next level. Yeah. Luxe has always been prided on, because we're in Richmond, Virginia, not New York City, not Miami, not LA. Not necessarily the first, second, third, or fifth to get, the latest beauty trends. Yeah. But I really just want to make sure we're on the map. So with that being said, I'm going full force as far as education, learning as much as I need to. Wow. I'm sure we still won't have those in-person, trade shows and beauty events, but the internet's always there, and I will be making sure that I'm staying on top of the latest trends, the techniques, what we need to be doing, what our clients are looking for, and just really expanding on my personal knowledge and our service menu.
Wow, that is incredible. So that's the best recommendation we can give everybody, is to just everything we just said earlier, but also to figure out ways that once you get to a certain level. So I know there's entrepreneurs that are at a level maybe where we're at or beyond, where it's like, okay, what's the next way I can make this better? Yes. If the environment is less in person, how do I make it more digital? And how's the digital enterprise work, and who do I have to reach out to for that? Which is leads us into, thank you very much. I'm going to lead into the sponsor spots and everything, which leads into thank you to White Box Media Company, the place where you actually digitize your business with digital media, video photography, production, and getting your message out there to the masses to dominate your market, expand your reach. I'd like to thank EV Resource, the #1 resource for clean energy vehicles, non-gas emission, zero-emission vehicles, and your magazine and your podcast and your show for that. And our brand new sponsor, Lollyvox, LOLLIEVOX, the Lori Webb, producer by Lori Vox. I know she's a brand new sponsor, so I'm kind of stumbling over my words, but she's a music producer out there in Tennessee, and she'll be doing some great things with us moving forward into the future. And I'm excited to work with her and help musicians everywhere get their platform going when it comes to design and mixing their audio. So thank you so much, everybody. Thank you to K-Dog Studios for this beautiful studio that we're able to participate in. And thank you very much, Arielle, from your company, Luxe. And look forward to seeing you, and see you next time, everybody.